Yeah, these ICE protests are getting a little bit strange.
You got me tongue twisted, dude.
Doesn't know what fetishes are?
Yeah, Tommy.
Well, yeah. There's that, as the situation definitely is getting pretty serious all throughout the United States, as there's major former supporters of Donald J. Trump that are actually speaking out against his policy, what he is doing, as a Chicago judge just ruled that ICE agents could be arrested. Will there be, as it looks like there might be a showdown soon, as Tim Pool has some very interesting comments on this, as Joe Rogan is coming out and saying, hey, these Trump immigration policies go too far, as left-wingers now are deploying a lot of propaganda, a lot of disinformation, and a lot of violent threats, as, of course, the political pendulum now is swinging back and forth here in a very volatile way. As I would say, Joe Rogan definitely doesn't get the situation right. Some of the things he says are absolutely right on the money. Some of the things deserve a little bit of criticism, which we're going to be going over in this particular video. Now, if you appreciate these type of more nuanced conversations, subscribe, click the notification button. As, of course, listen, situation's strange, and it's very hard now to get any kind of reliable information, especially with just how everything is so emotional, so hyperbolic. Everything's just like an information war. It's like we're full on two types of different realities that the left is living in, that the right is living in, two different ecosystems, two different news feeds, two different algorithms that they're being fed that propel and grow what some people call their delusion. Now, obviously, I'm a little bit more aligned with the right. I never usually was. But just like Joe Rogan and many other people like Elon Musk, the more the left came out and said, what? You don't believe every insane, crazy, radical idea like we do? You're German from the 1930s. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then, of course, there was multiple attempts on my life, physical altercation, physical fights from the ever so tolerant left that now is becoming more and more wild, unhinged, and violent. And listen, it propelled me and pushed me more towards the right. And if the left wasn't as domineering, wasn't as mentally ill, wasn't as abusive and authoritarian as they are, more people would be left-wing. They're not. As now, the right wing is saying, well, we got to answer back with our own forms of alleged authoritarianism. That's what some people are saying. Some people are justified. Well, what's happening here is, of course, there are now multiple clashes, multiple fireworks, explosions being thrown at DHS agents. This is the situation outside of Portland, where tear gas was, of course, deployed here, multiple projectiles thrown at police officers, as there is a big federal showdown, as judges are ruling, no, you can't use the military. Well, yeah, you can. Well, no, you can't. Maybe. Who knows? And a lot of these judges are, of course, very politically motivated, as there are two major places where the situation is getting the most tense. One in Portland, as we could see multiple arrests that happened a couple days ago there, and another in, of course, Chicago, Illinois. As right now in the making of this video, we're also finding out that a U.S. Marshal was actually shot during an immigration raid in Los Angeles, as it looks like he was injured during an ICE operation in Los Angeles, as it looks like he sustained a ricochet shot. So it doesn't look like it's too serious of a situation. It looks like it was the federal authorities that were actually the ones shooting.
News alert. This is video that we just have in from moments ago from Los Angeles. This is according to multiple ICE and Fox News sources. A U.S. Marshal and an illegal alien were both shot in L.A. this morning. It was during an immigration operation. Both at this time, we are told, have non-life-threatening injuries. Fox is told that federal agents surrounded and boxed in a target. That target then rammed federal vehicles in an attempt to escape. The feds fired their weapons. One U.S. Marshal was hit in his hand in what initially appears to be a bullet ricochet.
Now, luckily, no one else was severely injured. The suspect was not injured, but everyone's on edge. Of course, this makes breaking news. Oh, my God, someone shot. And then you have the left saying, oh, no, poor 12, 13-year-old honest migrant worker that was procuring your raspberries every morning for you. He was just brutally assaulted, and then the right wing is like, automatically, Hector from MS-13 tried to behead grandma. I'm being facetious, but like, there's hyperbolic individuals from both sides. I would say the left is far more hyperbolic, though, as right now in Chicago, a local judge just ruled that ICE agents can be arrested at the courthouse. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings just ruled that ICE is no longer allowed to arrest people at the courthouse, which includes areas on the sidewalk and, quote, parking lots. Again, it's a decree here. He says, because people need to feel safe going to court, whether they're a witness, a victim, or just there for a hearing. The judge said it's about keeping the justice system, quote, fair and open to everyone. This comes after ICE agents were seen waiting outside courthouses in Chicago, which scared many people away from, quote, showing up. If ICE tries to make a civil arrest at a courthouse, they could be, quote, arrested themselves. It'd be interesting to see when push comes to shove what's going to be happening here, as a lot of people predict a lot of type of big power plays between local enforcement, state enforcement, and federal enforcement. This is what Tim Pool, the Beanie Man, had to say about this situation.
A judge has ruled in Chicago that DHS agents can be arrested if they try to apprehend illegal immigrants without a warrant. Now, this is part of the ongoing lie and manipulation by the left, where they're playing what I would describe as a silly game of semantics.
Now, before we get into his kind of explanation and here's his side of the story here, we wanted to, of course, tell you about We Are Change.shop, and we got our best-selling product. And that, of course, is our Common Sense Creatine. Why is it called Common Sense Creatine? Because it's common sense that you should be taking some creatine. Women more deficient in creatine than males are. And as we have this random post on Twitter, I just went on Twitter, posted creatine. Look what people are saying. We have Achilles saying, creatine isn't a bodybuilding supplement and definitely not a steroid. It supercharges your brain, speeds up recovery by 30%, and protects against depression. Here's why everyone needs and how they could take it properly. And he busts a whole bunch of myths here. Paul Saladino even talked about how, hey, I've been experimenting with creatine. This stuff's pretty good.
If you don't know about creatine, we don't make enough of it to be optimal. Even those of us,
especially women,
who are omnivores, can benefit from creatine supplementation unless we are getting probably upwards of 2 pounds of meat per day for men, or 1.5 plus.
That's a lot for your system to digest.
Pounds of meat per day for women. These studies consistently show benefits in terms of cognition, even in people who are not aging or have cognitive decline, but certainly in people who have cognitive decline, creatine is beneficial for muscle recovery, for exercise performance, in terms of memory tasks, all sorts of things like this. I've started adding around 5 grams of creatine to my diet per day, and I notice benefits in all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. The reason why I'm able to be up and working as hard as I am, producing now multiple videos a day, I think it's predominantly because of creatine. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for creatine, if it wasn't for me supplementing. And I truly feel amazing because of this stuff. I can't recommend it enough. We are Change.shop. Check it out. Do your own homework and research before putting anything into your body. Here's what Tim explains as the semantics that the left is playing surrounding ICE and the arrest of the judges here.
You see, in immigration courts, they operate under the executive branch. Judges still exist, but they're executive branch judges because immigration is the sole purview of the executive branch. This is why Texas could not deport illegal immigrants. Got to go through the executive branch. So what the left has been doing is claiming they're not judicial warrants and that it's a violation of due process to enact the law the way it's written and has been. Let me put it like this. When Texas said, we want to turn these illegal immigrants back, the Biden admin was like, you can't, because we are in control of how this operates. Let them in. When the Trump admin says, we are in control, just like Biden was, and we want to deport people, they said, you can't. Not unless you get a judicial warrant, which is different from executive immigration warrants. So now this judge is basically saying that if these ICE guys try to arrest illegal immigrants, they can be arrested. And whether or not they will be, I would argue, yeah, probably, because they already arrested the guy who became president and they want to put him in prison. What makes you think they wouldn't go after just a single federal agent?
We'll see if they do. And that will definitely be more challenges for the president of the United States. As Joe Rogan, who Tim Pool highlighted, has definitely been making more of a turn against Donald Trump, more of a turn towards leftist type of ideology, as he's making the argument that he's probably reading the room, seeing the left is violent, and is maybe potentially afraid of the leftist violence against him, and therefore he's trying to take a step back and saying things like this, where he publicly disagrees with Trump's immigration policies.
The immigration thing, the way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
Now, he's doing the kind of bleeding heart liberal argument here, as there's also a lot of fake news, a lot of disinformation, as we have this news report by CNN, The Guardian, Independent, Huffington Post, Newsweek, LA Times, talking about a father of a Marine was brutally beaten by ICE agents. But they failed to talk about how the father was in the country illegally. He evaded arrest, threatened agents with a power tool, and then resisted arrest. That's a little bit of a different story. They're like, a poor guy got beat up. Oh, no. I mean, listen, we all saw that Chris Rock skit. If you don't want to be beat up, like come on. There's different realities of the story. And again, look at music. Marine's father beaten by masked men. Why are you threatening ICE agents with power tools and fighting them? That's the question that needs to be asked. And again, if Joe Rogan's just inundating this, like, oh no, look what they did, that's so horrible. And again, the right wingers are getting other information. They're getting stuff like this, showing people at these No Kings rally, literally going out there and saying, take the lives of the ICE agents.
Turn around the guns on this fascist system. These ICE agents gotta get shot.
Yeah, there now have been multiple attempts, terrorist attacks, sniper fire, explosions against ICE, their members, threats, doxings, harassments, intimidation campaigns that have been waged against the left. And this is pretty clear that there is an intimidation type of movement and maneuver being made here that I think is worth talking about, that Joe Rogan probably never sees.
And wiped out. Correct.
And then I don't know why Homeland Security decided to play that, and then they're like, "Are we gonna? Don't try this." Well, okay. Well, some of the stuff is a little cringy, but again, Joe Rogan, knowingly or not knowingly, is kind of propelling a lot of more emotional rather than logical arguments. As of course, if you're going to blame anyone for the leftists and liberals being here, you should blame the Biden administration and other previous administrations that opened the border and were like, "Come on in." They could have came in through the legal process. They could have applied. They still can with the proper protocols, but they were taken advantage of by the left that want more congressional representation through the census, through the sanctuary cities. They're saying we could have more members of Congress represent us in Washington, D.C. if we have more illegals. Come on in, guys. And then guess what? We're going to raise the taxes and we'll make the local population pay for you guys. You guys ready? Free stuff. Come on, Pedro. We need more representation in Congress.
No. Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right.
Okay. Again, there's emotions and there's logic. Clearly, this is more of an emotional heartstring argument that also, if you're going to pull on the heartstrings, if you're making an argument for immigration, what about the brain drain that a lot of these countries face? What about all the smart, capable people in those countries leaving that country and then screwing over the future of that country and their family members and their loved ones? Just to be used as cheap slave labor here in the United States for the pure benefit of many multinational corporations? Get out of here. That's the emotional argument to make. Like, wow, you're really making all these other countries crappy by taking their best people, the more capable, the more kind of entrepreneurial, the more kind of outgoing people. You're taking them out of their countries. Their countries would have been great, but their countries are going to be crap because all the best people are out of their country. So there's many ways to emotionally spin this.
That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look.
That can't be the only way to do this. I mean, how else do you stop the Democrats from having overwhelming congressional representation in places like Chicago, in places like Portland, Oregon, in places like Los Angeles, where they rigged the system so they get more federal representation? How else can you unwind that? What else can you do?
Yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for...
This is why California, that used to be a conservative state, went overwhelmingly blue and will continue to be blue forever.
20 years, no criminal record. They worked the entire time.
Yeah.
They paid taxes. Find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where you can do this thing that you want to...
Amnesty. And that's what Reagan did. And that's why California is as cooked as it is right now with the long-term kind of political argument that we're going to be making here.
Which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with...
Well, it's not just that. It's more ideological, especially with leftist liberals that are abusing and taking advantage of the system and taking advantage of these poor guys in destroying their countries back at home at the same time. That's what I think people need to understand.
Drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay, but also have a fucking heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt.
Yeah.
Not a criminal. Not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico. And they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And they could get sent back.
And listen, a lot of them are. Some of them are being sent back based on fake news. Some of them are being sent back based on real news. But listen, this is an issue that's not going to be going away anytime soon. We even had an assistant Department of Homeland Security representative come out and talked about how, the FBI is now looking into people that are literally putting bounties on ICE agents for $50,000. Now, two wrongs don't make a right here. I do believe there's a more complex argument that if we're going to be arguing with emotions to make here, but clearly we're living in a very kind of wild, weird reality where everyone is on edge here. Everyone is just losing their ish here. And I think it's fair to assess here that a lot of this problem is not going away any time soon. Now, some of the things I agree with Rogan that he talked about recently was specifically talking about how a lot of losers and FBI agents are pretty much at a lot of these protests. How a lot of us are divided to the point that there's no going back from. And we never really look at the true cause of what's really going on here and how the left overwhelmingly has lost it. And they view everyone as Germans from the 1930s. And I thought this... He also had a very blunt message for all the liberals trying to start up all the fight and all the craziness, being like, all the right-wingers are the ones who have all the capabilities to defend themselves, right? And I don't think a lot of liberals recognize that.
Protesting on the streets, 99% of them are losers. The other ones work for the Fed.
Hey, don't say that about these guys. Yeah, he just has a baby blinky and pacifier. Yeah. I bet one of these two guys is probably a Fed, by the way. Anyway, that's just the way that things are. Here's what else Rogan had to say.
Fed.
I have a whole joke about that. It's like fucking, if
it's FBI agents and losers. That's all it is. The whole fucking every protest,
Dude.
is FBI agents and losers.
I talk about this all the time. I'm like, for me, you want me to join a protest? You want me to get out on the street? First of all, to make a sign? The fuck out here. And then
You don't have to make the sign. There's a guy with a van who's paid by George Soros,
Yes.
and he's got stacks
handing
of
them out?
signs that were made at Kinko's. Okay, they're not homemade at all, and you just fucking just pass those bad boys out.
I'm never leading your revolution. My problem is my sign would say, "Ugh," or "It's complicated."
Yeah. It is more complicated, and it's far more of a nuanced issue than we even let on. Is there going to be any kind of closure from tribal division, or it's just going to be political sides taking as much political power as they can for themselves with total disregard for our Constitution, Bill of Rights and Rights? What's the right approach here? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for making sure your brain works well and checking out wearechange.shop and making sure you get some creatine. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys getting creatine, supporting this independent media organization, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more. All here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.